Hi, I'm thrilled to be here today. What a great group of speakers and ideas. I'm a writer, so I'll be reading to you from an essay called Widowed, and it's from a selection of essays I've written from my own life that really look at the poles of birth and death, so the poles of existence, and how those two states kind of mirror one another and allow us to appreciate the time we have in between. This is called Widowed. When will life feel like life again, I'm wondering. My daughter and I have just come in from shoveling the front walk, and I've gone to the bathroom to use it and to have some time alone. As I sit, I'm thinking about loss and love, my constant mental undercurrents ever since my partner passed away 2 years ago from ALS, and I found myself stunned to be raising our small daughter alone. I'm wondering specifically if I will ever experience real love again, or if my relationships will feel like one lover getting me from point A to point B until the final point of death. I'm wondering now about a man I like. I just sent him an email, but now I'm sure I said too much. And if he ever did like me, I've eradicated it by being too honest. Now, if he likes me at all, it is probably just as some kind of pedantic, motherly friend. Do you want to play a matching game? My daughter calls in to me. She's 5 and loves making up games. Okay, I say. A matching game under the table beside the radiator? Sure. I've not gotten up yet. And it gets even better than that, she says then. She's leaning against the door, the same way I used to when my mother would go into the bathroom to escape my endless questions. I made it up myself. You made the cards? Yes. I wash my hands and come out. Are you sure there's a match for all of them, I ask? Well, I hope so, she says. She crawls under the table and I crawl after her, crouching down and bending my neck uncomfortably. Well, that's what I'm hoping anyway, that there's a match for everyone, she's muttering to herself as she lays out the cards. But you know, some may have gotten lost. We have a heavy tablecloth on the table and have to play the game with the help of a flashlight. My daughter's eyes are shining, and for the first few minutes we're playing, I feel tenderly alert again, almost as if I'm in one of those spotlit moments of being watched. That was how life with her father always felt to me, awakened, conscious, as if the three of us existed in a triangle of sight, and our true seeing of one another swung us up into heightened awareness. Maybe, I think, love is another dimension because it is reflective, predicated on really seeing the other. The seeing externalizes the other's inner self and makes it real. Love makes us more real. But now, I think if I am being watched at all, it is only by my own excitement, my slender hope that someone may be with us again someday. And I've missed it so much, this feeling of another seeing us, that I'm suddenly about to spill over. Why are you crying again? My daughter asks. Oh, you know, I say. I'm distracted and my daughter is alert, so she makes all the matches, and then I'm thinking, this is a bad sign, a very bad sign. Maybe I've had all the matches I will ever have. Out of sympathy, my daughter lets me pick up the very last match, but just as I'd feared, there's a lone card that has lost its match forever. My partner got sick when our daughter was 2 and suffered from ALS for the next 1.5 years before he died. With ALS, or asymmetrical lateral sclerosis, the nerve cells stop sending signals to the muscles, so the victim loses the ability to do something every day, dying relentlessly, incrementally, while his mind remains intact. First, Richard had a sore foot, then a weak knee. Months after that, he could not walk. Then he could not lift himself to a sitting position. Then he could not use his arms to play guitar, raise a spoon, or feed himself. He died suffocating, like all ALS victims, when the paralysis spread to his torso and his muscles could no longer open his lungs. Through this long decline, I cared for him and had to come to understand the essence of love free of expectations, devoid of a practical future. As he lost the ability to partner, parent, move, and speak, I had to commune with his presence, his essential being, rather than any personality based on what he could do. And this uncommon understanding of love has thrown everything else off balance for me. I'm so aware of the other side of life that I feel asymmetrical in my relation to others. Or maybe what I feel is just a rarer symmetry, as I experience life always in relation to death, as I encounter what is always in relation to what it is not. My daughter has just invented another matching game and wants to go back under the table to play it. It has 3 times as many cards and a spinner she's made out of coffee filters and a toothpick. 1 more hour until bedtime. It all goes very slowly. It takes a long time with this many cards haphazardly arranged under a table, and I'm weary in the way that only a single mother can be weary. A single grieving mother with no relatives in town and no adult diversions except for her 1 monthly splurge on a babysitter to see friends. But somehow, for a minute, I stop myself pitying and resign myself to the fact that this is just the game right now. And once I accept this, I begin to do very well. I pick up 4 matches in a row, as if somehow I know just where the right numbers are. I get so many matches that I basically just bow out at the end and let my daughter pick up the rest. I figure I have gotten enough. There is a common fallacy about life and death in our culture. We think that we will die when we have had enough, when we have lived enough life and accomplished what we meant to accomplish. But that does not always happen. When we really love other people and life itself, we have never had enough. Richard had not had enough of his life. And I am still in my 30s. I really have not had enough. Throughout my grief, I've had the idea that if I just keep following my own deepest interests, I will someday meet another love. This theory led me to take my daughter into the wilderness of Belize over our winter break. We stayed in a little thatched roof hut beside a river in a rainforest, and I was happy. When we got back to the States, I was talking with my sister-in-law, who was encouraging me to create an online dating profile and just put myself out there. Make a list of what you need, she said. You want someone around your age, professional, educated, someone in the same city? Not necessarily, I said. No. Okay, well, she said. She was genuinely trying to help. I was thinking maybe I'd meet someone in Belize, I said longingly. You were up in the mountains with Mayan subsistence farmers. So, I placed a jar in Tennessee, the poet Wallace Stevens wrote. The wilderness rose up to it and sprawled around, no longer wild. It took dominion everywhere. The jar was gray and bare. It was a jar like what you put the ashes in, but it could have been anything. The mind needs an idea to pool around, something to offset and begin to organize its inchoate thicket, and in my case, its sadness. Richard's absence is the jar in my inner Tennessee, the thing that focuses and colonizes my grief. The wilderness of mind and feeling needs such a thing, I think, sort of the way the self needs a beloved in order to know itself. Not all selves. Surely there are some people so evolved or self-sufficient that they can be reflected only in their journeys and their work, but this self does. I remember when our daughter was smaller and Richard was not sick. Sometimes I would be drying her off after her bath or reading her a story before bed, and I'd look up, and he would be standing there in the doorway, just watching us, like he was trying to memorize us. Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear, Fuzzy Wuzzy had no hair. My daughter is chanting in the bath now. Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bunny, Fuzzy Wuzzy had no honey. Fuzzy Wuzzy was a chick, Fuzzy Wuzzy had no... Fuzzy Wuzzy was a chick. Fuzzy Wuzzy had no, Mama, what rhymes with chick? The other hard thing about single parenting is that there's no one to laugh with. She's on a wily campaign to stay up later. Every time I try to catch her little wet body, she starts saying, "One more trick, just one more trick." She's most excited about the dead man's float, in which she lies on her back slightly underwater and sees how long she can hold her breath. I look at her, nearly taking up the length of the tub now. How I wish he could see how tall she's gotten, how beautiful she's becoming. And then I think of how long it's been since I've had sex, since anyone has touched me. I can't imagine a man waiting this long to be with another person. How long can I go on holding my breath? And yet, how will I learn to swim in a new element, as sex and relationship now will surely be? After her bath, my daughter cannot decide between a book on Cro-Magnon man and Harold and the Purple Crayon, so we start on both, and while I'm reading Harold, she insists on getting up to find a purple crayon to hold. "You are a conniver," I call out after her. "What's a conniver?" she asks. "Someone who's always figuring out how to get what they want," I say. In your case, bargaining in order to stay up a little bit later. Bargaining, I think, one of the stages, when you will do anything, just to live a little longer, or just to have them with you a little bit longer. "Oh, that I'm actually the exact opposite of a conniver," she says. "I never break the rules, I never get in trouble, I only do what I'm supposed to do." And now she's grinning so widely and persuasively that I can see she is one of those people who will create her own reality and get the other people around her to believe it, just like he did. But as Harold looked down over the other side, he slipped, and there wasn't any other side of the mountain. He was falling in thin air, but luckily he kept his wits and his purple crayon. He made a balloon and he grabbed onto it. Yesterday I was talking with my sister-in-law on the phone, who's an excellent athlete. She explained that during pregnancy, the body opens more capillaries, and this increased blood flow actually enlarges the heart. So she became a better runner after she became a mother. That's how I feel, I say. Like now, after experiencing mothering, caregiving, death, and grief, my heart just has more capacity. I was chatting away, waiting for my daughter to get out of school, standing just inside the big reflective doors, and the brighter light of early spring had begun to skid and shine off of everything. I watched all the fathers lining up, talking a little, checking their phones, and I remembered a dream I'd had the night before. Someone, I could not see his face, picked my daughter up and kissed her. They were laughing, she was squirming to get down, and they were familiar and happy. I was a few steps behind, watching. And when I woke, I realized how much I've wanted this, to see her adored by someone else. As much as I've needed that for me, I've needed it for her. Maybe we stand in the atrium of the next dimension, I think. We know something about life, my daughter and I, that anyone would see if they looked into our eyes. And this atrium has its own light filtering through slowly that I could call the light of hope. Thank you.